great big...
And hello, everybody. Welcome to WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And today we are going to be doing something that has been on our minds for a while, and it's something that's semi-controversial, just a little bit. I mean, it's when you... and I'm sure you guys have seen the title, but when you talk about your love of Disney, it is not normally taken in the same aspects as other geekdoms, nerddoms. I remember we talked a little bit about it at the Convergence episode that we had.
Yeah.
But that was primarily about not having...
representation at a convention.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and this has become more of a general thing. But yeah, we kind of went there a little bit where we were kind of talked about how there's like almost a stigma around being an adult who also enjoys the Disney fandom. And
maybe not just enjoys, but is passionate about it.
Yes.
Because you can talk to anybody and say, do you like Disney? And they'll be like, well, yeah, but.
Right.
And there's always the but.
Right.
But
I'm an adult.
And it's like, but it's mostly for kids, or, you know, but it's not something that I'm that truly interested in. But almost everybody is willing to go see every movie that comes out when it comes out in theaters. They know the words to every single song, whether it was a movie that came out when they were a child or not even beforehand. Yeah. They know every song.
Everyone knows, like, even if you're, like, just some rando, you know, like, what Let It Go is and where it's from. Like, it's just built into everyone's brains.
You had to bring that up?
Yeah, of course I did. I mean, we hadn't done it in a really long time, so I figured might as well.
Fine. But, I mean, I think, and this is where we have people, especially people with children, I think they use their child as an excuse for their love of Disney.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to admit to themselves that they really want to still be part of that world and still be just as in love with the, you know, the entirety of the vocabulary that Disney is associated with. Now, that's changed slightly with the Marvel characters coming over, with Star Wars characters coming over, with even the Muppets. Muppets are a little bit more adult friendly.
They are for some reason.
I don't know. They're puppets. Yeah. But they're more socially acceptable than someone saying that they like Disney.
Right.
And I think what it is everybody, when you say, I love Disney, I'm passionate about Disney, they are like, oh, really?
So you're like a princess?
You're a princess girl?
Yeah.
Or what is it with that mouse? I mean, we all know Mouse. We all know the Mickey Mouse Club theme song. Hello. But they look at you they look down at you for being honest and saying that you love Disney.
Right. And it's funny because a lot of these people will be into other fandoms. Like, a lot of times there'll be people that like Marvel, or they like, you know, things that are, even though those are kind of Disney almost, but not quite.
But comic books.
Right.
Other books, movies, television shows. I mean, geek culture, and like I said, we've touched on this before slightly, but geek culture has really made a renaissance in acceptance.
Right.
Except for Disney.
It's true.
And it's a hard stigma to fight when you're talking about, you know, trying to present yourself to people and they go, what are you passionate about? What do you find enjoyment in? Well, you can give the standard things like, I'm an avid reader. That's great. But what am I truly passionate about? I run a podcast talking about it every single week.
Right.
I'm on Instagram on our WD Carousel of Podcast page almost daily, talking to the people that are just as in love with the Disney culture as I am. Posting articles on our Facebook groups. You know, those are things that I'm active in. That's what I'm truly passionate about. And yet, it feels like I'm not allowed to admit that.
Right. It's amazing how soon, like, it's specifically Disney where you get the and even being a dude can sometimes even be worse because there's all sorts of weird assumptions where it's like,
are you gay?
Are you gay? Like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, and not that that would be a reason.
No, that's not a bad reason at all, but that's
it's like a weird assumption.
General assumption that they make for no reason.
It's a strange assumption, and, you know, and some people would get obviously offended. I don't get offended, but it's one of those things where it's just a weird, like, people just kind of give you a look when you're like, yeah, I have a Disney podcast, my watch is Mickey Mouse, like, all this stuff, and, you know, and obviously for me it was more about the parks is where I kind of got hooked in, and we'll kind of get into how that all ties together later, but it is weird being especially a dude, just not a father, but just a guy who likes...
a single male that is in love with Disney.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very interesting thing, and the it's either the kind of like with... a combo of like, are you just afraid to grow up? Like, there's kind of like this weird thing that I can't quite put my finger on for the looks you get. I don't know. It's kind of where my...
I don't know either. It's like, I hate to be the one to make the comparison, but if you say you're obsessed with Universal and Universal parks, that's socially acceptable.
It is.
If you say that you're obsessed with Harry Potter, that's socially acceptable. It's still fantasy.
Yeah.
It still has rides and attractions and immersive worlds that you can go visit. But as soon as you put the big title of Disney on there, all of a sudden you're immature, or can you actually function as an adult, or, you know, they think that you're down to the mentality level of sticker books, which, you know, I love sticker books, don't get me wrong. I have color books, you know, yeah, I have color books.
I know you do.
Do I actually color in them? No. But the art's pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, they try and knock you down to fit into an idea. And so we wanted to have that conversation today about why, as adults, we love Disney.
Right.
And I'll start off a little bit, and we can just keep bouncing back and forth off of this. But I truly, and it almost feels like I'm in an addiction program. I finally allowed myself to realize that I am in love with Disney. It took until I was almost 30 years old.
Hi, Crystal. Yeah.
I mean, I fought the stigma for so long. But I was still in love with the movies, or I, you know, wanted to go back to the parks, and I'd pull up Walt Disney World's website and dream about the rides and going, and I wouldn't let myself get there because I didn't want other people to look down at me in that way, which sounds like a ridiculous thing, especially when there's so many other things in the world that people look down on other people for. It was just, I didn't want to add that to my pile, my list. And eventually I was like, no, with the world being as, you know, horrible of a place as it is, let's be honest, I wanted to be honest with myself and find the one thing that truly gives me joy and let me experience it in a way that helps lift me up during the day, instead of trying to hide who I am, hide what I love, due to other people's assumptions and expectations.
Right, and for me, it's always been, people are, because I went to an art school with lots of people that were all into like the high culture and, you know, being edgy and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I go Disney World, it's fun. Like, now you don't want to just like go backpack across Europe. Like, you know, I like adventures, you know, to a certain degree, but like, if I really want to like get away from life, I want to be at Disney because it's like comfort food to me. And they were kind of like, you don't want new I'm like, of course I want new experiences. Like, I always want a new experience, but like, that's like something that I've budgeted into my life, that I want to have that comfort food because I can get, it's just such it's a safe space in my head.
I like the term comfort food for it. It makes 100% sense.
It's kind of like the most American thing, comfort food, you know? It's just this very like, you just kind of
Dole Whip is comfort food.
Exactly. For me, that's how it's always been, is you know, whatever's going on or however things are for me, I can go back and I know that Disney is a place that kind of exists outside my
100%.
space-time a little bit. It's kind of a different universe onto itself, and you know, it changes and morphs in its own way on its own time, but it's like, for me,
it's a constant still.
It is, and it's like I can cross over and live outside of the world that I live in.
It's the escapism.
It's fully escapism, for sure.
But there's so many different aspects to Disney, more than just the princesses and the mouse.
Right.
And that's really where our passion lies. Do I know all the princesses? Yes. Do I know Mickey and Minnie and the Fab Five? Yes. Am I obsessed with one thing about Disney? Not really, because there's so many other avenues to go explore, and that's one of the big reasons why I love Disney. Is it doesn't matter what you look at, where you go, who you interact with, you're going to find new things every single time. Even if you go to the same ride every single time you're there, you're going to notice something different, and it's going to re-spark that imagination within you, or you know, watch that movie again, and now that you're an adult, you catch the adult humor in there, or you notice this little aspect, or you start looking at the art for it and find out the history behind these amazing creators. And it's such a diverse culture to just swim in. I don't know why I chose the word swim, but I did.
Fine.
That it is a wonderful way to escape the craziness and the depression that can happen in your everyday life, and find something that you know is always going to be happy to see you, spark joy whenever you even just look at, like, I was looking at a picture of the little car that I bought this weekend.
Yes.
So I bought this little push car, and it's a classic vehicle. And honestly, when I sent you that picture, I almost said starting my Main Street auto collection. I mean, seriously, it's an aspect of Disney that I love, and yet it's not something that's advertised, but it's just another addition to the world and making it more in-depth, more filled out.
Right. It's that's the thing that's so amazing, both in just the Disney as a company and all the things that live under the umbrella, and like for me, the parks is, as you were saying, it's like that level of detail and diversity and what you can find. That being a Disney fan, people are like, feels like it's like a very narrow, weird thing to like, but actually, I could, you know, Crystal and I are both Disney fans, and we have overlapping but not totally intersecting interests, and they're distinct in different parts of the same fandom, and that's what's so interesting about it, is everyone has their own kind of part that they are interested in, and there's very few people that I know and interact with who are Disney fans that are just love princesses. Obviously, it's a thing, but like that's not necessarily what it is.
It's not flat. It's not
right.
You know, definable by one thing. Just because you say you love Disney, it means X.
Right.
And that's not it. There's only really one park right now that has anything to do with the fantasy, and that's Magic Kingdom. The rest of Disney's, you know,
portfolio,
I was going to say immersive areas have to do with culture, have to do with creativity, have to do with, you know, the building ofs, and it's educational, it's informational, it's so much more.
Yeah, it's exposure to things that you wouldn't be able to see or experience. It's things, like you said, it's education for culture and technology and making movies, and you know, and there's obviously a fantasy component to it where you can go and experience places that you enjoy watching or seeing, and being able to go in and experience, get a sliver of what that might feel like. And it's a place where it's kind of like what VR can never be. It's the real fake world. It's hard to explain, but it's pretty amazing.
But even inside Magic Kingdom, where that fantasy does exist, it only exists in one little area. The rest of Magic Kingdom, outside of Fantasyland, is all worlds created by Walt and rides created by Walt to capture our childhood, or his childhood, or the memory of.
Right.
So really, when you go there, the idea that you're going to be swimming in princesses and princes and all of that is very, very minor. That is mostly involved in the cartoon movies, which you can still be just as passionate about. Trust me, when it comes down to Disney trivia, I am the queen. I have a Bible I've created.
Right.
Let's be honest here. But there's so much more to Disney. Like, going back, and the Main Street was made after the image of Walt's hometown.
Right, but it's like his...
in Missouri.
Right, and it's his memory of what he remembered it. So that's the thing that I like about
softened.
it. Yeah, everything that's there is everyone's best remembered version of something. That's what's so fun to me, is it's art. The whole place is art, because it's people interpreting things and experiences and smells, and it's all manipulated and changed in a way that they have remembered it, or it's like somebody else's. You're basically living in someone else's brain, and many people's brains in this case. So it's true with the movies too. You're seeing the way, you're perceiving the world through different people's minds and their imaginations, and that's art in itself. But being able to go to the parks and see and actually experience and go into someone else's mind, and in some cases it's Walt Disney's, in some cases it's the wonderful other people that have kind of followed in his footsteps.
Well, for example, look at the Paris Park. The Paris Park, their main castle is Sleeping Beauty's castle. And as we are all familiar with the movie, I'm not sure if you are, but they have a very stylized, heavily Renaissance image of trees and castles and everything. And the Paris Park brought that to life.
Yeah.
Along with, instead of Future World, they have a whole Jules Verne section.
Right.
And so there's...
Tony Baxter.
I mean, there's a whole other area of, like, creativity, and that gets into, a little bit of my steampunk love that I have.
Right.
Or, in Adventureland, where, you have the headhunters, and you're these big explorers going through the jungles and everything.
Right.
You get these sensations of the spark of, experience and creativity and discovery. And it's addicting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that once you've seen it and you fully let yourself go, and it gets past my hardened shell into the gooey center of my being, and then it's just something that you want to experience, because it's not that many things that are able to do that for me, where it actually, it gets past my own cynicism.
Oh, 100%.
That's kind of the weird thing, 'cause I'm a very cynical person, and it gets past
You know me, I'm pessimistic to heck.
Yeah, but that's why we have it. It's like our own, the optimism in our lives exists outside of us.
This is my happy.
This is Disney.
And this is why we love it so much, is because we have to live in a world where we have such a shell.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
here we don't have to.
Right.
We go down there and everybody is smiling. Everybody, will greet you and say, have a magical day. Or if you're wearing a celebration button, happy birthday or congratulations.
Right.
They will notice those things, and they will, just that little interaction, that little awareness of not just living in their bubble, but pulling you into theirs as well, and saying, I notice you, I appreciate you.
Right.
The service that they have there is beyond amazing. And that's something, as an adult, I can appreciate. Now, as a kid,
didn't notice it.
You wouldn't notice it at all.
Right.
But as an adult, when you've stayed at Motel 6s and, camped and all this other stuff, I mean, now, obviously, there are different price points, but even at the value resorts, which are decently priced
yeah,
for
very well priced. Yeah.
Average hotel you can get.
Right.
They still have the same exceptional customer service and experiences where they are going above and beyond to be able to let you live your best life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's a way for you to shut away, just slough everything off, and just live completely disconnected, and be able to just kind of operate in a way that doesn't have any load on the rest of your life, and just kind of be that disconnected, and be able to kind of refresh, regroup, and then go back. Which is why I like the idea for me of, I don't go a lot. I try to go when I can.
I mean, I wish we could go more, but,
yeah.
Realistically, we're living in Minnesota, so it's not as financially feasible.
Right, exactly. And so part of me is kind of like, I don't mind. I mean, obviously, especially the fact that we have a podcast, I'd like to be able to go more frequently.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I kind of like that it's a special thing. It's not an everyday thing. It's a thing that I can do as part of something that I do that's special. It's part of kind of a ritual. It's part of my own kind of sense of there's a word here, meditation. It's kind of a way for me to get away and kind of clear my head. It's weird to think about it that way, but it's like it lets me focus on nothing. I can focus on nothing. It's weird.
When you get stressed, put on the music for Magic Kingdom. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not all Disney songs, in fact, of course it's Disney songs. Right. But I mean, it's not all animated movies, songs, and soundtracks. Like, there's been times where Ian's texted me and he's like, I was listening to the park soundtrack and our theme song came up and I was expecting to hear you say, and hello everybody. But that's just, it's a way for us to decompress. Mm-hmm. And there are so many people that love Disney just as much as us, too. It's not just the standalone person. It's not just two people in Minnesota out of all of the Minnesotans. There are millions of us. And there has to be for the amount of people that go.
Right, and the amount of money that
and
Disney
the amount of
makes.
money that they spend.
Right.
It's not all just children. In fact, I'm pretty sure the full DVC program, the Disney Vacation Club program, is essentially just people like us.
Right.
Adults who have admitted that they love Disney and they want to be able to use that as their escapism. So they've paid for the timeshare, essentially, to be part of that magic on a regular basis, to be able to go experience it yearly or every other year, or depending on how many points they buy, more often. But all of those people are adults just like you and I that love Disney just as much as us. The people who go down there to work at Disney are just as passionate as we are. Yeah. They have to be able to go through, because it's a very rigorous training program down there.
Yes.
And we've talked a little bit about it when we did the character meet and greet podcast about just signing up to be a character.
Right.
All the steps you have to go through and the learning you have to do and how involved that is just to be able to say you work for Disney.
Right.
Those people have to be beyond passionate for the company, and most of them are not making a lot, but they love it so much they stay. Exactly.
I had a story here to kind of tie into all of this. I don't remember what it is.
It's okay, it'll come back to you. But I will also say, the people that are on the social media, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all of those people that are Disney people on there are just as passionate with us, or as us.
Yeah.
And due to just it being an escape for everybody and the place they find their joy, this has also been the most warm, engaging group of people that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
That I've ever interacted with about a fandom.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And one of the things, too, that I remember my story now. Not really a story. It's anecdotal. Here we go. It's, we brought it up a couple of times when we went to, oh my goodness, Not So Scary Halloween Party. that was the first time I kind of got to see Disney where it was more focused on the people like us. Because when you go to the hard ticket events, you get more people that are in our group where they want to see. They want to see the Disney and all the people there, all the adults that are dressed up. They want to see
Disney as we see Disney.
Right. And so we frequently have, when we went to there, we saw a lot of people that were like us, and you know, there was that kind of interaction where you got to see those other people that were in the same world that we are, and it was really, really cool to just have that kind of those brief interactions and see all these people that were dressed up and you know, in our area of age and interest, and it was cool to see. I'd never experienced that before.
Yeah, and those people, they're just as diehards as us because they're wearing costumes about characters that are park specific. So if you don't know, like the group of people that were wearing the Haunted Mansion stretch room outfits.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, that's right.
And there's tons of other characters. I've seen a couple Orange Bird adaptions. Yep. I've seen lots of different things, but if you don't know anything other than the movies, which you're still allowed to be just as passionate as with the movies. Absolutely. I mean, we went as Lock, Shock, and Barrel.
Right.
But you get to see just how passionate these people are with Disney, just like us.
Yeah.
And everybody's supportive, and I've never had any back talk or any condescending trolls on any of our social media.
Never.
Because the Disney group is nothing but supportive, and I found another one, I'm going to follow you, I'm going to support you. You're another person that loves Disney just as much as me, let me be there for you. And I know a number of people who have mentioned that they started listening to us because they know us, but at first they thought, yeah, you know, Disney's okay. I mean, I like the movies, but I don't get it. But the more they listen to us, they're starting to understand more. And that's why we wanted to have an actual episode saying, we're adults, we love Disney, but here's why.
Right.
So it's not just a flat reason.
It's not a one-dimensional, singular thing that we're interested in. It's such a broad spectrum of stuff.
Do I have princess plates? Yes, I do.
You do. That's right. They're actually kind of cool, if I'm honest.
They are! Really neat. Dude, some of the art that comes from this, like fan art and, you know, Etsy. Oh my god, Etsy's amazing for Disney stuff. And then the ways that Disney has infiltrated the retail world is something completely different. But we won't get into that right now. But it just is the little things that show how passionate you can be about certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, I know that I have friends who are DVC members. One of them was down there just this last week staying at the Grand Floridian with a monorail view. Oh, God. And those are things that I can say that, you know, I'm jealous, but I'm not mad at him for it. In fact, it's more along the lines of, I wish I was there too. But that's how we interact as Disney adults, is we go, that's great for you. I'm so excited. Like when people say that they're going down to Disney, my boss is going down to Florida and they're going to do Disney for the first time one day.
Oh, man.
One day.
Good luck.
I'm like, okay, so here's what you're going to need to know. And I laid it out for her. And I was like, I'm so happy that you're going to experience this. Yeah. And she's like, I am too, but I'm nervous. And I'm like, you're going to be nervous the whole time.
First time is scary when you haven't really gotten fully into the...
But I was just excited for her, and it's almost like you want to live vicariously through those people.
I love, my favorite things to do is to take people that have never been. It's one of the funnest things to do. It's just because you just get to kind of be Willy Wonka through the whole thing. It's really cool.
Come with me,
exactly,
and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Wait, that's not Disney IP.
That is not Disney IP. There's one that is Disney IP, but not that one.
So I think we should wrap up here.
I think that is, yes.
Allow yourself to love Disney in any aspect that you truly connect with it. Yeah. Don't be ashamed to say, I love the movies. Don't be ashamed to say, I love the vacations. Or the parks or the cruises or the resorts or,
Yeah.
the Disney on Ice or anything else that goes along with it. Let yourself, and this is something that I've been saying for the last few years, let yourself find the joy where you can in this world, because we get beat down enough for everything else. Be honest with what you actually enjoy, whether it be Disney or not, and run with it. Just run with it.
Find your others. Find the others that are like you, and they exist.
They do.
and it's
by the millions probably.
Probably, and it really, really can make things nice when you're having a tough go. It's really nice to be able to have those people to kind of fall back on and be supportive with the things that you like, and
or even just know that you're not alone. Like when you're driving down the road, and I've seen like annual pass holder magnets on someone's car before. I'm like, that's Disney people. Yay, I'm not alone.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're not alone, and we want you to know that Disney is perfectly acceptable for adults. You don't have to hide behind your children to love it.
Absolutely.
So this has been a WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And I hope you guys have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everyone.
Beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away.